A major university is an incredible place of learning, creativity, and accomplishment. As president of Oklahoma State University, I have the opportunity to explore and experience what makes our campuses unique. I'm Burns Hargis. Come along with me, and together, let's go inside OSU. The Division of Student Affairs helps shape the student experience at Oklahoma State through a host of services, including campus housing, dining, health, and wellness, as well as career services. Dr. Doug Hallenbeck returned to Oklahoma State earlier this year as Vice President of Student Affairs. I sat down with Doug to discuss how the environment outside the classroom impacts a student's ability to learn inside the classroom. Doug, what would you say is the number one goal of Student Affairs?
Yeah. I think our number one goal is to connect students to their peers, to staff, faculty, but also the institution. And that when we think about the importance of this time in a student's life, it's really that emotional connection that they have to the institution that I think we play a vital role in a lot of different ways in connecting the students. You know, think about most things that happen outside the classroom that affect the student experience. So housing, dining, the student union, student activities, leadership programs, student health services, counseling,
intramural sports,
recreation, all those wellness programs all fall underneath the umbrella.
Right. And is it all pretty similar to the other institutions you've served in?
Yeah, it really is. You know, very, very similar to the breadth and the scope, and the student population is very similar as well.
But the student affairs, student life outside the classroom has a lot to do with what goes on inside the classroom, especially in the area of retention, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And what we try to do within student affairs is take the things that students are learning in the classroom, help them apply those to real life settings in any number of ways. It could be an outdoor adventure trip, it could be in a residence hall, student organization, and to really supplement the in-class learning with out-of-class experiences that really kind of bolster up what they're doing.
Well, often you're gonna see a student struggling before anybody else does.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and especially.
And what happens if you observe that?
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of times it could be a student staff member in the residence life program or one of our advisors, or we'll see that student and first of all talk to them, ask them how they're doing, what's going on, and then depending on what the answer is, we might take them over to the counseling center, might connect them with a student organization that they're interested in, might connect them with an intramural sports or club team that they could be a part of. So,
a lot of times, though, it's financial, isn't it?
A lot of times it can be. It can be. The students are struggling. We have students that have food insecurity issues, don't know where their next meal's coming from. We've had students that don't want to go home during the breaks because they don't have a home to go home to, and so we'll connect them to resources, either financial aid, or if we can provide assistance through my office, we have funds that we can give emergency funds to students to help them kind of get over the hump, so to speak.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see here?
I think the biggest challenge from the student population is, and this is a national trend, the rise in mental health and mental health concerns, and really anxiety and depression rates.
I hear that everywhere I go from presidents around the country.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. A lot of factors that go into that. Partly it is a lot of the support services in high schools that students before would never have gotten to college to have some of these struggles, and then social media plays a role into it. The pressure of just the national conversation of the economy or the culture, all kind of drive to, I think, that rise in anxiety rate. So that's one of the
staffing up to deal with that's a real challenge, isn't it?
It is, and so the key is trying to figure out, not only from a counselor standpoint, making sure we have enough counselors and a variety of different options, but it's also looking at some of the root causes. So, you know, really focusing a lot on student sleep, trying to get them to sleep better, trying to get them to eat better and exercise more. And if we can do those things, we believe that we'll just naturally drive down some of those rates.
Yeah, getting them to go to class is pretty good.
Yeah, that helps
trick,
as well.
too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because a lot of these students, of course, show up here and their mom or dad have been waking them up every morning,
Every morning.
and pushing them to get
Yep.
ready to go to school.
Yep.
That isn't happening now.
It is, not at all. And, over the last 10 to 15 years in public schools, not only do they wake them up, but they can check their grades daily. They can be the ones that, say, hey, you got a test coming up, you got a paper coming up. And students haven't had to have that responsibility as much now. So part of what we do is try to ask them those questions as well. What are you doing?
Well, just time management.
Yeah,
Figuring out how to get
Yeah.
it all in is a real challenge for a lot of students.
It is, and balancing that out, and what's necessary for them to do, what do they like to do, and what can they give up doing.
Doug, what are some of the common misconceptions that parents have when their student goes off to college?
Yeah, well, there's a couple. One, I think parents, misperceive the amount of time that students have. I think they feel like sometimes they have less time than they do. So we encourage students to have part-time jobs, and parents go, well, they don't have time to. They have more free time than they know, and so I think that's one. And I think the other misperception is that we're not high school, and so we don't respond to the parents the same way, and we don't provide the same level of information. And so when they drop their student off, sometimes they want us to be responsible for every second of their student's path.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we
there's
don't.
the so-called FERPA law that
Yep.
keeps you from, unless the student signs a waiver,
Exactly.
you can't tell the parents the grades. that they're making.
Exactly. In fact, when I was here in my first tenure, I used to give a lot of orientation speeches, and parents one time asked me, well, what can we do to get that done? Do we have to, have a federal law? And I said, well, yeah, you'd have to change the federal law because we can't tell you these things, academic things, because of that.
Or the student can waive.
They
waive
can
that
waive
right.
it. They sure can.
The other thing is on academics, I think student affairs, as we've discussed, have a lot of effect on academics.
Yeah.
But there's some things that are going on, living learning communities and the like, that really do kind of directly deal with the academic side of the house.
It sure does, and we have specifically with our living learning communities within residential life, direct connections where we provide a floor and space and some oversight in terms of programs, but then directly connect back with our academic
And so
partners.
what would be some examples of that?
Well, we have a program with SEAT, with engineering, where we have some advising centers in the basement of Parker Hall, and so they're able to do some advising there. We have advisors that are student peer advisors that are supervised through the College of Engineering that live on the floor and also work with the students.
So everybody there is an engineering major.
Everybody's an engineering major. Yeah.
Are there others like that?
We have the honors building Stout Hall, which actually my daughter lived in, which is a direct connection with the honors program, and Dean Garbett is actively engaged in the community. Has cookie and tea, and he and his wife do with the residents on a weekly basis as well. And so we have those experiences too.
Yeah. What would you put at the top? Tell students to put at the top of their to-do list.
Yeah, I think going back to find their place. So get out and meet their residents on their floor, get to know their RA, go out and be involved in a club, organization. Pay attention to, especially the first 3 or 4 weeks, pay attention to faculty office hours, go to class, ask questions like that.
Oklahoma State University offers students an outstanding support system. Student Affairs is ready to help with academic, personal, financial, or other issues. Various resources are listed at studentaffairs.okstate.edu. Our interview with Doug Hallenbeck was recorded at our Inside OSU podcast studio. The Inside OSU podcast is another way to learn about the great things happening at OSU. You can subscribe at insideosupodcast.okstate.edu. I'm Burns Hargis, and we'll see you next time on Inside OSU.